my own understanding of Buddhism, which I realize is incomplete, is that there is a certain amount of non-acceptance of emotional energy. That emotions are really spoken down to a great extent, and treated as if they are really not much more than a obstacle on the quest for peace of mind, and that one shouldn't pay them much attention. And obviously it depends on the different strains of Buddhism and the various interpretations, but what I see in Buddhism is a great deal of focus on the mind, on the mental processes, on the thoughts, and not really a emphasis on truly getting down into the emotional feeling self and diving deep into those feelings that arise. It seems to me that it is more intellectualized, more up in the head, and moving away from the emotional self, the lower self, the conflicting desires and whatnot. In general, my experience of Buddhism has been one that is much more focused on the mind and less so on the true embrace and acknowledgement and honoring of the emotional feeling essence that arises within us. And so this leads into my next criticism of Buddhism, which is, for myself, a lack of emphasis on God and love. That Buddhism is oftentimes referred to as a philosophy rather than a religion. And certainly it goes beyond simply a textbook philosophy, undoubtedly. But there is absolutely some truth to that. That there is really not much in the way of acknowledging a personal God. That it is more about your own individual quest for enlightenment, and less about seeking to make a connection with a higher power, a personalized concept of God. And this is completely, a matter of people's beliefs about the world, whether there is or is not actually a God out there. In my mind, and there certainly is not a God as in the Christian Bible of some white bearded guy up in the clouds coming down and reprimanding humans and this humanized version of God. But I do believe in a higher consciousness, which is the creator of all things, and which is personalized in terms of being a being, having an experience, and having desires of his or her own, including the desire for the other beings out there, such as ourselves, to come to greater spiritual awakening and understanding, and to come to greater understanding of God. And so for myself, and that is something that is missing in Buddhism, is an acknowledgement of a God which we come from and are destined to return to. And this is, to me, a very important part of the spiritual path, is acknowledging a higher authority, if you will, even though I don't really like that word, authority, but a higher being which we are seeking to make a connection with, and to understand more, and to feel the presence of, to a greater extent, within our lives, and to be more like this God that may or may not be out there, but which I believe is. And then also the subject of love. In Buddhism, there's so much emphasis on mental peace, mental clarity, disturbing thoughts and how to deal with them, and the higher mind, and compassion, absolutely, which is important, compassion for the suffering of others in the world. But compassion is not necessarily the same as love. There's almost kind of a selflessness in the concept of compassion, to some extent, of having empathy and understanding and patience and forgiveness and open-mindedness towards those that we don't like in our lives, who cause us pain, who cause pain to others. And this is absolutely a component of love, I would say. But there's still something missing for me within the realm of love, which is a matter of self-love flowing outwards to others. And there can absolutely be a denigration of the self within many spiritual paths, and I think that this does exist in Buddhism, and certainly to some extent in some strains, that the idea is to become selfless. And I don't agree with this philosophy at all. The idea is not to become selfless. If everyone became selfless, then nobody would exist. There would be no self. But in my view, there is self. In fact, self is all that there is. And so selflessness is not something to strive for, but rather self-love, self-acceptance, self-affirmation. And through true self-love, then you find the ability to love others. You can't love others without loving yourself, because others themselves are only other selves. They also are self. That's the principle of oneness, that we are all a individual self, and ultimately we all come from the same source, a God self. And so love is important. The concept of as wishy-washy or as open to interpretation as it is, as perhaps unspiritual to certain extents of seeking mental illumination that some could conceive as being beyond love, because love is simply a human concept. It's all mixed up with romantic love, and that it is something that is not the highest truth, that there is something actually beyond love, and perhaps there is, but I believe absolutely love is the doorway to enlightenment, to God, to truth, to self-realization, self-knowledge, self-understanding. And who knows, maybe there is something even beyond that. But love should absolutely be an important part of the discussion, a crucial, integral part of the discussion of the spiritual path. And so this leads into my final constructive criticism here of Buddhism, which is a certain self-reliance. And this goes along with the lack of a focus on a personalized God, because in my view, then we're created by God, we are an expression of God, and we cannot be self-reliant. There's no such thing as self-reliance. We are relying on God right now, whether we acknowledge that or not. that this world was created by God. It is all God energy. Our consciousness is an expression of God. God pervades everything, and we are not separate from that. We are absolutely dependent on that, and we can't do it alone. We can't just find enlightenment within our minds, and then that's all there is to it. But we are dependent. We are reliant on something other than our own inner experience. And in my own observation of Buddhism, then I see a certain sort of individualness of a bunch of people coming together, monks all meditating together in a room. But to me, there seems to be quite an emphasis on this focus, so much of being inwards and so much of being in the mind, and in the inner experience, that there is almost a lack of the collective, a lack of true unity between the individual parts. That ultimately the whole point of the spiritual path on a grander level, a grander scale, is of unity of all of the individuals coming together ultimately as one. Not right now, not next week, not next year, but that is the ultimate progression of moving back towards oneness and truth. Because the truth is that everything is one, that everything in this universe, that all consciousness comes from one singular being, which separated and fragmented, but which is seeking to come back together. And so this needs to be part of the spiritual path. Is certainly your own inner spiritual quest is part of it, and making that inner connection within to something beyond your own mind. But there's just kind of a dryness to Buddhism in my estimation, of a lack of joy and spontaneity, and of more of a variety of expression of being. It's so serious and so intellectual and so focused on the inner mental state of being. You don't see a lot of wild dancing at Buddhist get-togethers, or emotional expression, extremely unique, creative expressions of being. Like, think of Burning Man or something like that, of just getting wild, just getting out of control sometimes, and quirky and weird, and outside the box of the social norms, and I think that this is important. That it's important to not get so stuck in a straight line of I'm focused on my inner experience, and I'm not interested in disturbing thoughts, and it's all about peace of mind. Because life is a roller coaster ride, and it is unpredictable and spontaneous. And I think that spontaneous expression is very important, and it is part of the reality of beingness. Is weirdness, quirkiness, of a rainbow spectrum of expression of being. So I think I've rambled on enough there, but just to wrap things up, I'm not trashing Buddhism here. I think it has a lot to offer. I'm a huge fan of meditation. I enjoy Buddhist chanting and Buddhist mandalas and much of the artwork and music And I've been to a lot of Buddhist cultures around the world, and they're some of my favorite places. But for me, there is an incompleteness to the Buddhist philosophy. I don't think that it needs to be scrapped, but I think that the truths that are within Buddhism can be added to, and that there is in fact something missing, and that there is a more complete picture in my estimation. So thanks for watching. Take care. Namaste.